There are moments in life when loneliness doesn't come as a choice, but as a silent calling. It appears when everything feels fragile, when bonds weaken, when people drift away without explanation, and when you feel as though you are walking down a road where no one seems able to keep up with your steps. What many fail to perceive is that, spiritually, none of this is a coincidence. There are separations that don't happen because of human faults, but because of divine direction. And those who often feel alone rarely understand that this isolation is the clearest sign of being chosen. When God prepares someone for a greater purpose, He does not allow that person to become entangled with just any energy, idea, or path. Before He reveals the mission, He clears the ground, cuts connections, quiets roads, and removes noises that could interfere with the spiritual awakening. That's why, no matter how hard you try to fit in, your soul always seems to be pushed back into silence. That feeling of being out of place in the world isn't weakness, it's protection, it's training, it's the sharpening of the soul. Loneliness is where God shapes character, reveals truth, heals wounds, and prepares you to carry something that many would not be able to endure. It's not that you have no place. It's that your place isn't ready yet. It's not that no one understands you. It's that few can access the depth of your energy. The chosen have always walked alone before walking with purpose. And before we continue, I ask, if this message speaks to you, follow this channel to keep receiving words that strengthen your journey. I am George, and I am here to walk with you in the awakening that God has already begun within you. 1. God sets you apart to break influences that could divert your mission. From an early age, you probably felt that you could never fully fit into groups, environments, or social patterns. Even when you tried, something always seemed out of place. Conversations that others considered normal felt superficial to you. Friendships that lasted for years for others dissolved for you without explanation. People came and went like shadows, and that wasn't failure, bad luck, or a flaw. It was divine protection. God sets apart the chosen because He knows that certain influences, even those that seem harmless, have the power to distort your essence and compromise your mission. People carry vibrations, beliefs, fears, intentions, and forces that can seep into the heart of someone as sensitive and spiritual as you. Like a strong perfume clinging to clothes, the wrong energies cling to the soul, if you let them. That's why God doesn't allow it. He removes, separates, silences, blocks, closes doors, and ends cycles, even when you don't understand it at the time. It happens in childhood, when you feel like you don't belong in the group. It continues in adolescence, when friendships that seem easy for others never last for you. It intensifies in adulthood, when God removes people before they can contaminate your purpose. You have no idea how many times God saved you by leaving you alone. How many false hearts He removed from your path. How many messes He stopped you from becoming part of. How many heavy energies He prevented from getting close to you. The isolation that hurt you was actually an invisible shield. There are people who, if they stayed by your side, would have paralyzed your spiritual evolution. Others would have drained your energy. Others would have destroyed your vision. And some would have made you forget who you truly are. God saw this long before you did. That's why He set you apart, not to punish you, but to preserve you. A chosen one cannot be molded by the world. They are molded directly by God. 2. God sets you apart to teach you to listen to silence, because in silence, He speaks the loudest. Most people fear silence. They run from it, distract themselves, fill their lives with noise, company, and movement. But the chosen don't have that option. God calls the chosen into silence because he knows that only there does the soul awaken. Only there does intuition blossom. Only there does the spirit begin to hear what isn't said, but is deeply felt. Silence was never a punishment for you. It was training. It taught you to make decisions without relying on others' opinions. It taught you to trust your intuition more than the advice of the world. It taught you to identify lies, intentions, energies, and feelings simply through vibration. It taught you to strengthen yourself from the inside because there was no one outside to hold you up. God set you apart so that you could learn to hear him without interference. When he wants to prepare someone, he removes the noise. He removes people who confuse. He removes distractions that detour. And he leaves you alone with your own soul. Because that's where he speaks the clearest. Many of your hardest moments were actually divine invitations to awaken. You thought you were alone, but you were being called. You thought you were lost, but you were being guided. You thought you were abandoned, but you were being shaped. And it was in silence that you began to notice signs, messages, premonitions, visions, intuitive dreams. God was training your sensitivity so that, in the future, you would recognize his voice amid the chaos. The silence that wounded you was the same silence that revealed you.
3. God sets you apart because your energy is rare and ordinary people can't handle it. Few things are as intimidating as true light, and you carry a light that exposes, reveals, illuminates, and unsettles. Not because you intend to, but because your essence naturally does that. The depth in your gaze, your sharp intuition, your spiritual awareness, and your ability to see beyond the surface make many people uncomfortable around you. Ordinary people coexist well with other ordinary people. But you are not ordinary. You feel more deeply, perceive more quickly, see more clearly. And those who live by appearances cannot stand those who see essence. That's why so many distance themselves. Not because you're wrong, but because you awaken them. And awakening hurts. Some envy you, not for what you have, but for what you are. Others get irritated because they can't manipulate you. Some feel small before your spiritual strength. Others simply can't handle the mirror that your presence holds up to them. That's why God separates you, to protect you from connections that would drain your energy, crush your spirit, or try to extinguish your light. You were made for environments that transform through your presence, not for those that would stifle it. Your light is rare. Your frequency is different. Your soul vibrates above the average. That's why you don't fit in. And God knows, gold must be kept far from unclean hands. 4. God sets you apart to heal you, away from eyes that wouldn't understand your process. Spiritual healing is one of the deepest and most delicate processes a chosen one can experience. That's why God, in his wisdom, separates you. He distances you from people who lack the sensitivity to understand what you carry, and especially from those who would judge your pain, minimize your burden, or mock what you feel. There are pains that can only be treated in silence, and wounds that can only close away from curious eyes. God knows that if you were surrounded by people during certain phases, your emotional process would have been interrupted. Some would meddle with interference, others with criticism, others with judgment masked as advice. And that doesn't lead to healing. It builds layers of protection, masks, and resistance. True healing requires vulnerability, surrender, and honesty with the soul. And God knows, not everyone deserves to see you fragile. That's why he isolates you, to remove voices that confuse you, advice that misleads you, and emotions that don't belong to you. He leads you to a place of solitude, where only you and he know what is being rebuilt. In isolation, He touches old wounds, shows you repeating patterns, exposes silent traumas, and cleanses memories you've carried alone for years. He brings light where there was once shadow, and this rebuilding is so profound you barely notice the scale of the transformation while it happens. It's like spiritual surgery, silent, invisible, but utterly necessary. Many times you thought you were being abandoned, when in truth you were being treated directly by divine hands. When God separates you to heal, He is preparing you for the next phase, one that is lighter, stronger, more conscious. He removes people who hurt you, situations that drain you, environments that weaken you, everything that hurts too much to remain. He removes everything that prevents your spirit from breathing. He cuts away. You are not alone. You are undergoing spiritual treatment. And when you emerge from this process, you will be someone no trauma can ever break again.
5. God sets you apart. Because your protection is a priority in the spiritual realm. Many people don't understand how much your very existence disturbs the kingdom of darkness. A chosen one, even before understanding their calling, already emits a light that disarms spiritual attacks, weakens negative presences, and deeply irritates those who dwell in darkness. That's why, from an early age, you've been a target of envy, heavy gazes, negativity, and even spiritual persecution. And to protect you, God separates you. There are battles being fought around you that you've never seen. Attacks that never reached you because God intercepted them first. People removed from your life because they carried destructive energy. Plans against you that never came to pass because God shielded your path. The isolation you experienced was, many times, a shield. God does not take chances with chosen lives. He doesn't allow your light to be extinguished by immaturity, naivety, or lack of awareness. He hides you during certain periods, quiets you, slows you down, and removes you from places filled with bad energy. That's why you've never been able to stay long in certain environments. That's why some people felt instant resentment toward you. Your light exposed their shadows. Moreover, God knows the chosen are spiritually sensitive. They absorb energy easily, sense vibrations, and feel presences. He separates you so that you won't carry burdens that aren't yours. Many times when you were alone, it wasn't because of a lack of company. It was because of an abundance of protection. God saw things you didn't. And by setting you apart, He saved you more than once. He protected you from betrayals being plotted, from words that would have destroyed your self-esteem, from relationships that would have drained your spirit, from paths that would have led you into chaos. He set you apart because you are too precious to be placed just anywhere. You were not isolated, you were shielded. 6. God sets you apart to elevate your consciousness. Above the average, even if that makes you different. A chosen one never thinks like others, never feels like others, never sees like others. And that is not a flaw. It is purpose. God sets you apart because He needs you to develop a vision that goes far beyond the ordinary. He trains you to recognize signs, patterns, spiritual truths, and paths that most people don't even notice. Loneliness taught you to observe deeply, to perceive what is not said, to feel the energy of a place, to interpret vibrations, to distinguish truth from falsehood. While others live on the surface, you dive deeper. While others believe only what they see, you believe what you feel. That level of spiritual clarity can only be reached when the chosen spend time in isolation. God separated you so that your mind would not be influenced by limited thoughts, empty beliefs, or opinions that don't belong to your path. He isolated you to open your vision, to expand your consciousness, to awaken you to realities that most people only begin to understand at the end of their lives, if they ever do. And it is exactly that depth that makes you seem different. You can't accept shallow explanations. You can't coexist with superficiality. You can't tolerate falseness. You can't remain in environments where your soul feels small. Your consciousness expands too quickly to fit into narrow spaces. God sets you apart because He wants you to see the world through spiritual eyes, not merely human ones. He wants you to recognize your mission before stepping into it. He wants you to learn to distinguish what is a path and what is a trap. He wants you to evolve above the average, even if that leaves you alone at first. The loneliness you lived through was, in truth, a spiritual school. God took you out of everything that diminished you to raise your perception to a level where you finally understood that you were not born to live like everyone else. You were born to see more, feel more, understand more. 7. God sets you apart to remove from you the habit of emotionally depending on others. One of the greatest marks of a chosen one is the ability to walk with a steady heart, even when no one else is around. But that strength doesn't come ready. It is built. That is why God sets you apart. He distances you to break emotional ties that could imprison you, limit you, or keep you dependent on human approval. He knows that when you depend too much on others, you lose the ability to hear His voice. Throughout life, you may have noticed that every time you leaned completely on someone, something happened. The person drifted away, lost their way, disappointed you, or simply couldn't give you what you needed. And that wasn't bad luck. It was divine intervention. God knew that if you became emotionally dependent on others, your spiritual strength would be blocked. A chosen one must learn to be sustained from within, not from outside. That's why you went through phases where no one seemed to be present. Moments when you sought support and found only silence. Times when you wanted comfort, but received space. It was in those moments that God taught you to rise, to listen to yourself, to grow strong alone. And though it hurt, today you realize you grew more during those times than in any other. Emotional solitude showed you that you don't need to be made whole through other people, because you are already whole spiritually. It taught you not to accept crumbs, not to settle for superficiality, not to confuse company with connection. It taught you to love yourself, to respect yourself, to look at yourself with truth. And the most amazing thing, after you learned that, your energy changed. You became more selective, more conscious, stronger. Manipulative people lost their grip. Toxic ties were cut. And those who didn't know how to love, truthfully, simply disappeared. God cleaned your life so that when the right people arrive, you'll be ready, not needy. He set you apart so you would learn to depend less on human hands and more on divine presence. Today, you no longer kneel before abandonment. You rise with purpose. And that is the strength God always wanted to place within you. 8. God sets you apart to free you from spiritual battles that were never yours. There are spiritual wars being fought around you that you've never seen. What you perceive is only the tip of the iceberg. While you live your life, invisible forces are moving to protect, balance, divert, and guide your steps. And many times, to prevent you from being hit by conflicts that belong to others, God separates you from them. How many times have you gotten involved with someone and suddenly everything began to go wrong? How many times have you gotten close to someone emotionally broken and then started carrying pains that weren't yours? How many times have you felt drained, tired, empty after spending time with certain people? That wasn't just psychological. It was spiritual. People carry burdens, shadows, traumas, spiritual ties, and energies that you were never meant to absorb. But because you are sensitive, empathetic, and spiritually open, you end up pulling all that inside. God knows this. And that's why, Before you get sick emotionally or spiritually, He cuts connections. You may have asked yourself, why does everyone leave me? And the answer was simple. Because they were not people meant to carry your energy, nor were you meant to carry theirs. Many came with battles that would have destroyed you. Others with envy that would have drained your strength. Others with negative ties that would have imprisoned you. So God removed them. Without asking permission, without explanation, without warning, because He saw what you didn't see. That separation also protected you from indirect spiritual attacks. People with heavy energy attract heavy situations. People whose spiritual life is disordered attract chaos. People with low frequencies attract turbulence. If you stayed too close, you'd be hit by battles that were never meant for you. By setting you apart, God preserved your mental health, your soul, your light, your mission. He protected your path from wars that weren't yours and from destinies that never belonged to you. Your loneliness was spiritual armor. 9. God sets you apart to prepare your expansion, because great changes begin in the invisible. Every chosen one goes through a period of apparent stagnation, a time when nothing seems to move, when doors close, opportunities vanish, and even old connections dissolve. It feels like you're standing still. But in truth, you're being prepared. God works in the invisible before manifesting in the visible, and separation is the first stage of deep spiritual expansion. He sets you apart to clear your mind, reorganize your energy, raise your frequency, and most of all, prepare you to receive something greater than you imagine. Real change doesn't happen when we're surrounded by distractions. Expansion requires space, and silence creates that space. During this time, God dismantles everything misaligned. He removes what steals your peace. He takes away what limits your vision. He closes paths you keep insisting on following. He cuts, cleanses, reorganizes, and transforms, even when you don't understand. Painful detachment is just the beginning of deep alignment. You don't realize it, but loneliness is where your spirit expands. It's where your intuition strengthens. It's where you start seeing truths you once ignored. It's where you understand who must go and who must stay. It's where ideas, projects, directions, and new versions of yourself are born. Versions that didn't exist before. And after that process ends, something extraordinary happens. The universe begins to push you toward new opportunities, new paths, new connections, new challenges. You become greater within, and the outer world must adjust to that growth. What looked like loss was preparation. What seemed like delay was alignment. What felt like silence was construction. God set you apart because He needed to reorganize everything before taking you to the next level. Your loneliness was the ground where your great transformation began. Many people spend their lives trying to understand why they walk alone, why relationships fall apart for no apparent reason, why friendships end suddenly, and why they never seem to fully fit in. But what most don't realize is that the loneliness you experience is not coincidence, not rejection, and certainly not a personal failure. In fact, it's a sign that a specific purpose is being built within you, even if silently for now. The first reason is simple. Your soul is different. It operates on a higher, more sensitive, more conscious frequency. And that naturally creates distance between you and people who live superficially. It's not that you want to distance yourself. It's that the depth of your energy doesn't find space just anywhere. While many focus on the external, you perceive the internal. While some live on autopilot, you live observing and feeling, and that is what sets you apart. Another reason is divine protection. God removes from your life people who don't belong in your destiny, who don't have good intentions, or who carry energies that could destroy you emotionally and spiritually. Many of the disconnections you've experienced weren't rejections. They were deliverances. You didn't see it, but God did. Conversations behind your back, hidden motives, silent envy, disguised lies, and spiritual attacks that were about to reach you. He cut them off before they could touch you. You're also often alone because your soul is in preparation. Ordinary people learn through the world. The chosen learn through silence. If you truly look at your story with honesty, you'll realize that your loneliness was never empty. It wasn't a void. It was a cradle. It was the place where God shaped your character, strengthened your soul, cleansed your wounds, and prepared you for something that is yet to arrive. Loneliness made you see who you really are, what you carry within, and what strength lives in your spirit. While others got lost in noise, you were led inward, and that's why you grew in silence. Everything that hurt, that confused, that distanced, that left you without explanation, now begins to make sense. You weren't being rejected by the world. You were being set apart by God. He didn't isolate you to weaken you. He isolated you so you could discover your light, your mission, your spiritual identity. Your solitary journey is the purest mark of someone being prepared for something far greater than they can imagine. Now tell me, which part of this message touched you the most? Share it in the comments. Your experience may help other chosen ones understand that their loneliness also has purpose.